Hello and welcome into FC Live. Kay Murray, Sam Marsden and Julien Laurent here to look back on the quarter-final. What a ride it was between England and Sweden. In the end, England have booked their spot to the semi-final where they will be facing Italy. However, after 78 minutes, they were trailing 2-0 to the Swedes, but they had a comeback to force it into extra time. And then it went to a penalty shootout, and we will talk about that penalty shootout, although it's definitely not one to watch back, maybe with some comedic music in the background, it's fair to say. Let me start with you, Sam. What's your biggest takeaway from what we saw tonight?
I think England will be breathing a massive sigh of relief tonight, because I don't know how they've gone through that tie. Like you say, they were 2-0 down going into the final sort of 12 minutes. They turned it around quickly. They then sort of gave away the momentum a little bit in extra time, let it drift to penalties, and then they were always behind in what you say was an absolutely crazy penalty shootout. 9 missed and just 5 scored of the 14 penalties taken. And yeah, they've somehow gone through. They were the ones who were going first. Sweden had 2 or 3 chances to win it before they then lost it. And yeah, England will be wondering how they've got through that time. I'm sure we talk about the worrying signs in the first half, the reaction they showed in the second half, which I guess was the positives, the changes, and the way they did get back into the game. And they'll probably also be grateful that, these may be famous last words, that they've now got Italy in the semi-final, because they'd be worrying about playing anyone of sort of Sweden's caliber again, the way they've played against Sweden and France so far in the tournament.
Yeah, Jules, Sam talks about those worrying signs. They really did do it the hard way today, didn't they?
Yeah, I think it's very similar to the France game, for example, that they had to open the tournament where they were not very good in the first half. And then I felt again tonight, Wigman took a long time to make some changes, both tactically and in terms of the players on the pitch. And then when she finally did, you saw the difference. And I guess you can't always play like that with 2 strikers and play long and direct football. I get that. But when you're 2-0 down like that, half-time in a quarterfinal, I think she should have reacted much, much quicker. And that lack of reactive sense in her really surprises me for somebody as good as she is. So I don't think she's been at her best in this competition as a head coach. I don't think the players have been very good either. But at the end, when Sweden thought they had won it, I think they took the eye off the ball a little bit. England scored 2 goals. And then even in extra time, I don't think England controlled too much. It was down to the penalty shootout. And as we said, it was one of the worst that we've ever seen anyway. So, but well done to England. I guess it's also in those kind of difficult moments when you go through that you build a bit of momentum and a bit of belief.
Jules, let me stick with you. What does Wigman need to fix for the next game against Italy?
I don't know. We probably all agreed that we thought this was the strongest 11 to start with. That's the 11 she changed after the France game, where to have Lauren James in the central position didn't work at all. Then she played a wide. That's better. When Toon came in as a number 10, that worked well, but it didn't work tonight. It didn't work from the start. And yet England shot themselves in the foot with the mistake on the first goal, for example. That left side of the defense, Greenwood, Carter, whoever you play, that left back and that left centre back, whether it's one or the other, they're just struggling all the time. Every time you got a bit of pace against them, Blackstenius tonight, Cascarino, Katoto in the France game, they struggle. And I know there's probably not that many options to replace them, but that's a struggle. And if you're Italy, and then potentially after that, Germany, France, or Spain or Switzerland, I don't think it'd be Switzerland, but one of the big 3, then you would exploit that left-hand side from England defensively. So there's a few things to sort out, certainly. And again, I think in her own changes, I just don't think Wigman has been very inspired so far.
What were your takeaways in the bad way, Sam? As we've just heard, Jules is there, obviously, with what we've seen from England.
Yeah, the main one, Jules obviously speaks about the left side of defence. I think Jess Carter's the big one. She really struggled in the first half, pace, even with strength in that second goal against Blackstenius. She was also torn apart against France. I think I said on this show after that France game that I had taken her out of the side. What Wigman did obviously was move her from left back into centre back, which is where she played tonight. But I think that needs to change. I think she was exposed against France. She was exposed against Sweden. And like Jules said, it's a question now of whether Wigman has trust or confidence in the players that could come in. Obviously, Morgan came in for it tonight at centre back. The other option would be to bring Greenwood back into centre back alongside Leah Williamson, and perhaps bring Niamh Charles in a left back. But I think that probably needs to change, because we've seen in 2 games now that she can't deal with top class opposition. The other things, I'm not sure. I think the attack didn't quite click in the first half. I think some credit to Sweden for that sense. I think Lauren James is one of those players where you leave her on because something could happen, but she must be frustrating at times for some of her teammates because she hangs onto the ball a little bit. But she does give you those moments. So it's a question you do kind of have to ride with that. Obviously, Haley came on and had a big impact in terms of her quality with her deliveries for both the goals. I think mainly it's that defensive issues that they need to sort out. It's also it's not just they're exposed as well. You've got Walsh and Stanway in there, but the big problem against France was there was a sort of lack of cover as well for Greenwood and Carter, and that's something they need to work on.
Yeah, getting some of the stats through now. Wiegman subbing her entire midfield three at a major tournament for the first time with England. You've got to look at it though, Jules, and think Sweden have got to be kicking themselves now. They were 2-0 up. They had the chance to win it more than once in the penalty shootout as well, and they come away exiting the tournament.
Yeah, and they've been really impressive so far as well. The win against Germany, the first hour or 65 minutes tonight as well against England. They could have been 3 or 4-0 up easily in that game. Before, I really think watching the game, they felt, I think, too comfortable after that 78 minute. And then the first goal came, and then you kind of knew the momentum had shifted. And then the second came just 2 minutes later. And I just don't know, at that level, with that kind of experience, players like Eriksen are so experienced that you wonder how they let that one go, really. And you're right, they would kick themselves. And not just that, but you said, like, for Falk to take the fifth penalty, that would have won it for them. I'm sure they were all in agreement with that. She made some great saves before that, but she never looked that confident to me that she was going to score. And then they had another chance to win it again. And Jakobsen, who's a good technical player, had took a terrible penalty too. And then again, you don't miss 2 chances like that against a team like England before you come back to haunt you. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, like Jules says, in terms of Sweden, I think they'd be absolutely kicking themselves for not putting that game to bed. There was a few moments in the first half when they were 2-0 up, when it felt like there was just massive gaps between the England midfield and defence, and the England defence was scared when they were running, and there was a chance for Rolfo. There was another one, I think, in the second half for Blackstenius. There were a couple of saves from Hampton. They really should have put the game to bed, really. I don't know what happened in the last sort of 12 minutes, whether it was panic, whether it was sort of tiredness, like Jules says. Eriksen, she is experienced, but she was injured earlier in the tournament. She's coming back. How fit is she in terms of going the distance in terms of these games? Obviously, she can still stay on for the 120 minutes and take a penalty. But Rolfo as well was also coming back from an injury. We saw Ashiani go off. So some of those more experienced players, whether they were completely fully fit, whether that sort of contributed to sort of them sitting back and getting deeper and deeper in the second half. And then, like you say, once that first goal comes in, I think psychologically that can sort of damage any team, can't it? You sort of worry, you panic, and the balls are coming in. You've got Russo and Ajumang both in there, both winning headers. Obviously, Mead was getting into the box as well. And yeah, but I think the stats in the end will favour sort of England in terms of shots, because they were obviously chasing the game, and XG I think was even higher in the end. But watching, that's not what it felt like. It certainly felt like Sweden should have had the game won before England got back into it. So they'd be absolutely sort of scratching their heads how they've gone out tonight.
Yeah, it's spare fault for their goalkeeper as well, because 4 penalty shootout saves was the most shootout saves in UEFA Women's Euro history. But then to also go on and miss Sweden's 5th penalty to win it, although stepping up as a goalkeeper, mad respect. But however, Jules, there has got to be some penalty practice for England. We're in a major tournament, and this could happen again.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, okay. You can take away the quality of the shoot. You can choose a side and the goalkeeper reads it, no problem. It's just some little things like the referee, I think, on the Lauren James penalty and the one after, where the referee blows a whistle and straight away Lauren James runs at the ball and shoot. Where just take your time, just be calm. This is all about your mental strength, and just be calm and just be composed. It doesn't so much how hard you hit the ball, or again, you will have to choose the right side and try to put it in a difficult place for the goalkeeper to go and get it. Sure, but it's all about you being composed at that level. It's not like us taking a penalty somewhere. They're the best in the world. And then again, Lauren James, straight after the referee blows a whistle, she goes in and obviously she misses. I don't think they were ready just mentally on the kind of this penalty show. There's been many studies recently, a lot of things, a lot of little details to work on before games about if you get to the penalty show, what the little habits that you have to get. And the biggest one is Just don't rush it once the referee blows the whistle. Just take your time, be composed. The referee is not going to do anything if you take 5 seconds to take your penalty. But if you take 1 second to take your penalty, then that really unsettles you, because that shows how much under pressure you feel. So little things like that England can easily improve before the semi-final in case they go back to that scenario.
Yeah, they were lucky that Sweden's penalties were even worse in the end. It felt for a little bit like England were the ones taking the bad penalties, obviously, as the sort of momentum switched to Sweden after they missed that first one. I mean, the England penalties were just, at least they were on target, I guess. Like Jules said, the Sweden ones, a lot of them were off target, but I mean, they need to work on that. Like he says, there are habits, there are things you can do. Obviously, we've not been in that situation, in that moment, in that pressure, and it affects players in different ways. But to miss so many penalties and for them to be such poor penalties as well, like fair play to Falk saving 4 penalties. They were decent enough saves, but they're all in sort of like that nice sort of like sweet spot that's neither too high nor too low, and the goalkeeper can get to. And yeah, it's unfortunate for her. She saves 4 and then misses one. I was getting ready sort of for the headlines about her sort of scoring 4 and saving 4 and then scoring the winner. That would have been an incredible storyline, especially because she might not have even been the goalkeeper of this tournament if Musovic wasn't pregnant.
Yeah, obviously all those little changes that can happen. But what we do know now is that it is England against Italy in the semi-final. Taking a look at the bracket here, this is how it's playing out so far. On the other side of the bracket, we wait to see who makes the semis between Spain and Switzerland and France and Germany. We'll get to Spain and Switzerland in just a moment. Before we do, though, even though England were not at their best today, Jules, are they still favourites for you against Italy?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, on paper, there's no match anyway. And this Italy team has shown a lot of heart and a lot of character so far. And they were great against Norway, the way they responded and the way they put a fight up. But they don't have the talent, nowhere near the talent that England has, really. And they don't have individual quality like England. They don't have even a collective, what we think England collectively can do, really, at the kind of level they can play all together. But they're resilient, that's for sure, and they're difficult to play against. They're going to make it hard for England, and I think it suits Italy to not be favourite as well, and to put all the pressure on England. England have, when you semi-final against Italy, you have to be in the final when you're England, really, and so all the pressure will be on them. And I'm seeing how England have played so far in this tournament in the games that mattered, like the France game. Okay, the Netherlands game mattered too, to be fair. So they responded really well in that. But we don't really know what kind of England is going to turn up either. And that, again, plays in the favour of Italy.
Yeah. I was at the Italy game last night and I thought they were the better side for most of the game. It did feel, once Norway got the equaliser, like the momentum was with them. And obviously Norway have been sort of quite disappointing, I think, for this generation of players that they've got. Even in winning their 3 group games this year, they were not amazing. But they did look like they were the team that was going to win it. And then Italy obviously struck late on. I think a little bit of that sort of tiredness in the second half is what we might see, what we sort of saw from Sweden later on tonight. Perhaps we would see that with Italy if there's something riding going into the game. I think England will have, like Jules says, you talk about the not just the quality that England have, but the depth of the quality that England has in terms of who they can bring off the bench. If, I'm sure Italy will dig in, it will be close, it will be tight for a while. But if you look at the changes that England can make in the second half, whereas Italy are quite sort of dependent on the same sort of players. Caruso is obviously sort of still young and in her peak, but Girelli is, she's 35 now. Can you be relying on her for 90-95 minutes when England have got options like Kelly and whoever they decide to leave on the bench, Ajumang, or whoever's coming on like they did tonight, Beth Mead, etc. But Italy have, they've got confidence. Like Jules says, it's almost a free hit for them now to reach the semi-final is an absolutely a huge achievement for them. You saw what it meant in their celebrations last night on the pitch, in the mix zone after the game, the singing, the sort of how much they were enjoying themselves. And the pressure's going to be off when they play England. And they've got history of some good results over the last couple of years. They've drawn with Spain and beat Spain. They gave Spain a decent enough game last week, admittedly a rotated Spain. They took the lead and Spain only got the 3rd goal to make it 3-1 late in the game. So they'll have reason to believe that A, they can beat a team as good as England, and B, that could be the crucial factor. The pressure's all going to be on England now, because if this Sweden game is sort of balanced and England could sort of sell it as 50-50, and that motivational factor is going to be huge pressure on them now to go and beat Italy.
Well, let me stay with you, Sam, because we need to look ahead to Spain against Switzerland. Obviously, Switzerland, the host nation, on a historic one. However, now they come up against the defending world champions in Spain, who are heavy favourites in this one. How do you see it playing out?
I'm really looking forward to this one. Yeah, I'm here in Bern at the moment where the game's going to take place. Switzerland obviously played one of their games here, their second game against Iceland. And the atmosphere was incredible. I think there was sort of 14,000 fans on the fan walk. So you can imagine what it's going to be like in the city tomorrow for this game. against Spain. It's hard to see, well, impossible for me to see past Spain. I mean, I don't know what sort of percent chance you'd have to give them. We've been in the press conferences today with the Spain players and the coaches and Sweden as well, and they're sort of talking about, I mean, there's a complete acknowledgement that this is Pia Sundhage, the Switzerland coach, has obviously been in charge of, the US. She's won Olympic Games with the US. She's been in charge of her native Sweden and Brazil. But she says this is without a doubt the biggest challenge in her managerial career, taking, the unfancied hosts, ranked 23rd in the world, against the world champions Spain, who are second in the world for some. They might be the best in the world, up there with the US, of course, at the moment, who won the Olympics. So it's a huge challenge. It's going to be a great atmosphere. I don't know whether that will be enough to push them on. I just think when you look at the squads, the difference in quality between Spain and Switzerland is absolutely huge.
Yeah, especially with the big talking points, Esther Gonzalez, Alexia Putellas. I did see, Jules, which made me laugh on the UEFA website. It said, to what extent can home advantage help the Swiss? And I thought, why, they are going to need the fans to turn up against this side. But obviously, we've seen some good stuff from them. They're confident coming into it. They know what they're up against. We do know it's Spain, though. How do you see it going?
Yeah, I agree with Sam, everything that he said. I can't see Switzerland as good as they can be sometimes. Collectively, Rötteler is a lovely story. Schettenleb, that Sam knows because she plays for Barcelona. 18 is one of the biggest young talent that we have in Europe, not just in Switzerland, but in Europe. She's going to be wonderful, but she's still only 18. And yes, there's all that experience from Pia Sundhage, the manager, who's a legend of the game, really. But that is just not enough. This Spain team could play their B team and beat Switzerland and go to the semi-final pretty easily, really. And I know it's a backfire from Switzerland and probably a 5-4-1, you would think, and they would try to defend as much as they can with the fans all behind them. But even that, Spain can take their time and then score 3 goals in the space of 5 minutes against anyone, really. So there's not a team right now that can compete with them, I think, unless something bad happens, unless they're all off it for the night, which I don't think would be the case on Friday.
Yeah, it's interesting. Go ahead, Sam.
I was just going to say there's some nice sort of comments from Pia about how they're preparing for the game today. Obviously, talking about the scale of the challenge. She says that life is all about sort of sharing stories and telling stories, and that's what they've been doing with the players this week. And this morning they watched some sort of old games. One of the ones was the Switzerland men's team beating Spain 1-0 at the 2010 World Cup. Obviously, Spain went on to win that World Cup in the end. And the other one was the World Cup final, which took place here in Bern in 1954, when West Germany beat Hungary. That was called the Miracle of Bern. Because I think they lost 8-3 to Hungary in the group stages, West Germany, and then they met again in the final and they beat them. So that's a really sort of famous game that took place in this city. So they're sort of telling them about these miracle games that have happened to inspire them to go out and beat the world champions. So we'll see how much of an effect that can have, as well as the home support.
Yeah, they may be world champions, but Spain have actually not made the Euro semi since 1997. So maybe that can be something else that Switzerland can have in their favour. Just an interesting story I saw today, Sam, in the Spanish press was the Barcelona contingent overall, the Barcelona players that we are seeing in the Women's Euros, just dotted across the whole of the Euros and being dominant as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, in the Spain, that's a huge part of the Spain team. You could have sort of 9 starters in the Spain team. Obviously, you then got Mariona Caldente as well, who left Barca, and they almost play like a club side. When it clicked, when you've got Alexia, Aitana, and Patrick, which is quite an interesting factor actually, because they haven't actually had those 3 at a major tournament properly. Obviously, in 2019 at the World Cup, they were all a lot younger. They were all in the squad, but they were all sort of in and out of the team. In 2022 at the last Euros, Alexia got injured just before the finals, didn't play. At the World Cup, which they won anyway, there was no Patry. Obviously, he was one of the players that sat it out in protest. Patry was back at the Olympics last year, but she's spoken about sort of having that difficult process of reintegrating. And now Aitana's obviously just come back from viral meningitis. So it looks like for the knockout stages, the first time they're actually going to have that Barca sort of trio in midfield. So that could be a big thing going forward. But like you say, yeah, the players dotted around the teams. Obviously, Graham Hansen as well at Norway. They're gone now, but she had some good moments in the first half. There was a run against Italy when she beat sort of 4 or 5 players. Even the ex-Barca contingent, Lucy Bronze and Kira Walsh helping England through. But yeah, I think it's mainly that Barca contingent, obviously in the Spain side, which drives them forward. Like I say, it's just, I think they're like a club side at times when they really sort of click.
Yeah, Jules, the good news for you is that the winner is on a collision course to face the winner of France against Germany. I wonder which team you would prefer.
I would love Switzerland to win, tomorrow. And I expect the miracle that Sam has promised us, because I think Sam clearly said there will be another miracle in Bern tomorrow, and that, it will be Switzerland beating his Spain team.
Yeah, 3 meetings with Spain. The Swiss have lost 5-0, 5-1 and 7-1. So we'll see. We'll see how it all plays out. And you can join us tomorrow. We'll be doing exactly the same, looking back on that game here on FC Live. For now, though, thank you so much for being with us. Make sure to be back with us tomorrow.